The only last subject I want to touch upon before Kaiji wants to get onto the Atari box, as everyone pretty much knows that I've been over publicizing this enough here on YouTube and on social media. Knight Rider turned 35 last Tuesday.
Woo!
How?
Because I purposely went, because obviously Night Watch is back in full effect, simply because I felt it was the right time to bring it back last year, because of the fact that a lot of people have actually asked me, why did you review SG first before going back to the original? And there's actually a good reason for this. Because next year will be the 35th anniversary of season 2 of the original. It would also have been the 10th anniversary of SG, because SG came out originally in 2008, and the two would have clashed with each other. So rather than have a inconvenient situation, I thought, right, a lot of people don't hold the 2008 series in high regard. I'll do that one first, because I've got a soft spot for it, because I found bits of it charming and it was enjoyable for what I saw of it. And then I thought, let's wait until season 2 to do the 35th anniversary of the first season of the original series, and then nothing is intertwining with each other. And onto the original point, I purposely went back about a month ago to watch the original pilot. And Kaiju, I think you've seen in the review I did of Night of the Phoenix, even to this day, I can see the imperfections and the goofs in the editing that they did with regards to KITT's dashboard would look drastically different between two different representations of the pilot, even to the front nose cone of the car. But aside from that, the writing is still reasonably sharp, some near 4 decades later. And even like the third act, which I've been watching repeats on YouTube of KITT jumping through and over the semi, as over the top as that was and is now, it's still something that puts a smile on my face, because you could tell they were dreaming big back in the 80s when they originally put it out. And Hasselhoff has described Knight Rider as a feel-good show, because the 3 elements that made that show a success and him a household name is it had heart, humor, and action. And that show had plenty of that and more. The only problem I find with a lot of shows these days is Knight Rider was a show that tried to teach the right lessons, but it didn't feel contrived or forced, as say something like Captain Planet back in the day. I know the two are completely polar opposites ends of the spectrum, but both shows were trying to say something positive, but Knight Rider made it feel like it's something you could embrace, but it was something that you felt you could embrace without it being forced on you. And I just don't feel as though enough TV shows or even movies today have that same kind of message. And it's the message in that they didn't really use it so much throughout the later episodes until the season 4 episode, where they repeated the theme of it, one man can make a difference. And that is something that I took to heart when I first started watching it almost religiously over a decade ago. I thought, I like that. You know, you can have that one guy who is the difference maker, who can go in and change everything, and it gets some people to think, well, hang on a minute, he's come in and done that without knowing too much about the situation, or just seeing just enough to get an understanding of what's going on, and he's actually making changes. And I thought, I like that. I can aspire to that. And it's where, as I've said to Kaiju in some private conversations, it's where I got the last name from, because I thought, you know, I'm creating an Xbox Live tag. What can I call myself? MJ plus Knight. I thought, I like that. It's got a nice tagline to it. And as I say, you know, nearly 10 years since I've actually seen the original pilot. And here's the thing. This is something I highlighted on the season opener for Night Watch. They put the pilot episode on the 7th disc of season 1 and not on disc 1. I'm like, Okay. Continuity.
It was the 80s. Continuity didn't matter back then.
What?
DVDs weren't out in the 80s, dude.
But they did properly play it in order when they had it on Netflix for a while.
Knight Rider was on Netflix?
I think it's still on there, but it was when I was still living at my old place. I don't know if they took it off or if it's still on there. I'll check later.
I'll have to check that out later.
As most people know, and I shall say this briefly because I've talked about this enough till I'm blue in the face. That one episode in season 4. Voodoo Nights. You could tell by that point nobody cared anymore. I mean, even Hasselhoff was, I think, half-assing it by that point. Mm-hmm. And it's just the idea of the fact they had a voodoo princess. Anytime I've had to go, because unfortunately, in 3 years' time, when I do the 35th anniversary of season 4, I'll be like, oh, fuck, I've got to review that episode. That's not going to be fun. But when I look back on that whole franchise as a whole, yeah, the idea of a talking car is not really so sci-fi these days because you've got GPS and in the UK, its own version, sat-nav. But it just shows how far ahead Knight Rider was back in the day because a lot of the concepts that were suggested in KITT, you actually have in cars now with the idea of data file transfer in Bluetooth or to syncing up with other devices or calling people from your cars. That's pretty much commonplace now. The only thing they haven't got yet is cars actually talking back to you as if it's a conversation between people, or cars turbo boosting over each other. But I think I don't think they're going to put that in some of the models just yet.
Considering how many terrible drivers are out there, I think that's a blessing in disguise.
Oh God.
I don't think going this direction is a very good idea, Michael.
Or it could be decide to take you places you don't want to go.
Oh dear. That was also the other thing that kind of struck me as odd originally, before I just started looking the other way with it. You look at KITT with, being a badass 1982 Trans Am, and that model to this day still looks reasonably futuristic with its clean and simple lines. Mm-hmm. And then KITT's first lines is like its first lines in Night of the Fates goes, "There is no reason for increased volume. I am scanning your interrogatives quite satisfactorily. I am the voice of the Knight Industries 2000s microprocessor, KITT for easy reference, or KITT if you prefer." And you're like, that sounded rather camp, but it works though because Daniels and Hasselhoff, it's trying to think of a decent, double act where there's such a good chemistry between two actors. Because you've got, David doing all his lines, and then you get William dubbed in later. Even at times, David would actually read the script, particularly during lines for season 2, and try to find ways of matching his lines in, because obviously William had done all his lines pre-recorded, and just trying to match them up in time so that they're not overlapping each other, for lack of a better description. I don't know why people hated on Val Kilmer's version portrayal in the 2008 series, because I've stated this so many times as well throughout the years. A voice actor is only as good as the voice direction he's given. And Val Kilmer's done voice acting before, because I think he did Prince of Egypt, did he not?
Yeah, he was.
Yep. He was Moses.
And, if he wasn't particularly good as KITT, it's just like, well, blame the voice director. I mean, yeah, he probably could have done a little bit better himself. But it's the same similar situation that they've done with Kevin Conroy in recent years, because as we discussed over the last few episodes, in recent years, it feels like Conroy is phoning it in with a lot of his Batman portrayals. Now, whether that's down to the voice direction or maybe it's just the fact he's getting tired of doing it, because he has been voicing Batman since 1992. And I think there's only so many times you can find the inspiration to actually keep the role interesting, because during the Killing Joke, it just sounded like he was just reading a grocery list. Whereas if you listen to something like Wings of Terror or Heart of Ice, you can tell he's putting his back into that vocal performance. Yet, like I say, in recent ones, it's just like, dude, when did you start hating your job? You know?
He's just on autopilot the whole time.
Well, to be fair, I would like to see Kevin Conroy read a grocery list.
I will have ketchup.
Milk,
I have the
cereal,
shopper.
milk, butter,
Chris Ortiz just reading out, you're the
a
crappy
bag of marshmallows, Hershey's Kisses.
Chris Ortiz just saying in the comment section, you're the crappy Kit from that crappy Knight Rider series from a few crappy... Yeah, I know what he's referencing.
Me too.
But...
Oh, I was going to say, if that were the case, he'd probably have to have an extra cart just to fill it completely with bandages.
Oh, gosh.
All right, I'll prepare your usual morning breakfast. Toast, coffee, bandages.
But yeah, just to wrap up, I think Knight Rider is easily, and this is just my opinion, yours may differ, and I'm cool with that. Knight Rider is easily still one of the best shows that ever got put out in the 80s. And even when you look at shows of today, again, it still holds up incredibly well, even though there have been advances in special effects, writing, and filming processes. But you just don't get that kind of magic today where you could tell that they had fun doing what they did back in the day. I mean, Hasselhoff has said in interviews, when he got the script, he felt like it was glowing. It's like, this is heaven sent to me. This is sent to me from God. This is my ticket to fame. And he recalls saying, he called his dad saying, Dad, I'm being screen tested for this new show. It's like, I thought you were supposed to go in New York. Yeah, but this is going to be a primetime show on NBC. This is going to be huge. What's it about? It's about a talking car. I think you should go to New York. But, you know, he saw the show for what it was. He, even during interviews or special appearances, even like answer messages on his phone says, don't call me David, call me Michael, because he actually embraced the character. I mean, today Hasselhoff he's kind of, when I say this, I mean this in the nicest way, he's kind of become a joke, but he's actually embraced that side, and it's actually working for him. I mean, with things like Off the Record or Meet the Hasselhoffs, he's actually working with it. Whereas back then, he actually, you know, he embraced the idea of Michael Knight being like King Arthur from Camelot. He actually liked the idea of being somebody that would actually go out and make a difference and actually help these people. And, you know, again, you don't see too much of that on TV these days. And also, again, from what little I see of TV, and trust me, it hasn't got any better, I just find with a lot of TV these days, it's trying to be dark and gritty for the sake of being dark and gritty. From what little I've seen of it, with Gotham, I can see what they're trying to do with it, and I still haven't seen an episode of Game of Thrones. I know some people give me heat for that, but it's just like, I haven't had the time. I'm busy doing so many other things, and I work full time, which doesn't help matters. But when I do get to sit down, first and foremost, you guys are my main priority on a Sunday night. You know this. Yeah. And also catching up on some necessary sleep, because everyone knows how long these podcasts go for. But hey, it's nothing to be sorry about at all when you know that. But it's 6 hours of the most fun I have during the week, and that's why I don't have so much time for TV. And to be able to go back and watch the original Knight Rider, and particularly because I haven't watched the first season in years, I'm actually able to come in with a fresh perspective, which is why I'm reviewing each episode on a weekly basis. And also it gives me content for things to do on YouTube, so that helps too.
Mm-hmm.
And it's as I said the other week, and this is something I'm quoting from a Back to the Future panel I said to X24 Rider years ago. Your perspective is vastly different from when you were as a child or to when you were younger. So now I'm actually able to see little bits and pieces that I didn't pick up on. And I'll use this as an example as well. In the first Ghostbusters movie, when you're 8 years young, the scene in Dana Barrett's apartment where Peter Venkman goes to inspect any particular paranormal happenings, you get Dana Barrett goes, well, that's the bedroom, but nothing ever happened in there. What a crime. When you're 8, it flies over your head. When you're 18, you're like, oh.
Oh, damn.
It's like you get the joke
now.
But it's done in such a way whereby they're able to get away with it, but the adults could go like, oh. It's like these very subtle wink moments. But yeah. Unless anybody's got anything to add to Knight Rider turning 35, we'll move on to something else, because I feel like I've kind of said what I needed to. So if anyone wants to say anything now, please go ahead.
A little bit younger.
Mm-hmm.
I know the voice of the car. Like, oh, that's cool. I liked the show when I was a kid, when I was younger. And I would watch because I know the voice actor, Burton Daniels.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah,
like,
Mr. Feeney.
When I heard the voice of Mr. Feeney, I'm like,
yeah.
it's like, did you turn into a person?
You were a person the whole time?
Still there?
Yeah. Yeah, we're still here.
You're just getting a little
I'm getting cut
echoey.
off again.
Try moving around in the room again. That usually helps.
I think I am. I can hear you guys again.
Yeah.
Okay, now you're good. You're good.
Damn it.
Like for a while there, it's like you were talking in like a dark, echoey cave.
Oh my god, I'm in the well.
What's that, Lydia? What's that last thing? Lydia's trapped in the whale. Well.
Arf, arf.
Don't worry, Lydia. Help is on the way.
I'm doing this Lassie reference and not a Ring reference.
Yeah. Kaiju, you got anything to add?
Let's see. Well, to this day, I've still not watched any form of Knight Rider. However, over the years that you and I have been friends, I have certainly grown to have a lot of respect and appreciation for the television series, given the amount of love and dedication you have shown online, MJ. And so I'm very happy for you that your one of your most favorite and beloved TV shows has been able to reach its 30th anniversary and is still remembered to this day as being a staple of television of that era. And that when I eventually do get the chance to check out Knight Rider, it will certainly be because of you. I have always been aware of Knight Rider because it's been so iconic that it has been referenced numerous times by many individuals who grew up in the 80s, are now in Hollywood making fiction of their own. And, you know, everyone makes callbacks, especially the most recent one I can think of is definitely from Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, where Peter Quill, I think, would often imagine Hasselhoff being his imaginary father, given that he never had a father figure in his life. So you can tell how much of an inspiration you can imagine how much of an inspiration Knight Rider was to Star-Lord in the MCU. So yeah, to this day, it's still a beloved show by many people. It's definitely an unforgettable concept, such a simple yet unforgettable concept, and that you certainly have done your part to keep that spirit alive, MJ.
I've actually still got a couple of the old Night Watch specials that I did put up back on my old channel before Universal started putting flag notices out, which is one of the reasons why I'm not ever going to put footage from Knight Rider back on Night Watch again, because then it just gets blocked. But
have you tried putting a border around the content?
I probably might just do that.
Okay, because I started doing that with my recent movie reviews, at least the scripted movie reviews, and so far it's worked out for the most part.
Okay, because one of the specials I did back in the day, and oddly enough, it was reviewing Knight to King's Pawn. There's actually two versions that I did. There's one where I was using like a really old Microsoft microphone where the hissing is so bad that not even Audacity could clean that mess up. And what I'd have is you'd see Car transforming into his GoBot mode, and I'm like, oh no, they didn't go there with this. And I'm like, okay, time to cue another appropriate musical cue. And then next scene, it's the fight between the two of them, and you can hear the 1984 Transformers theme. Ryder got such a kick out of that back in 2009, 2010, that he said he had to stop and rewind the whole video because he couldn't stop laughing for about 5 minutes straight. Or the other little things, like there was an episode, I think it was episode 3 of SG, Night of the Iguana. This is where liberties were being stretched. KITT was able to be a submarine in that episode. I'm like, oh, so we're stealing from The Spy Who Loved Me for that episode. And the bit where KITT actually drives back up onto the beach, I thought, yeah, people are going to expect me to put something appropriate in. So the moment you see him pull up, you hear the James Bond theme start playing. I'm like, yeah, this works.
I can't do it. I just looked at that. I'm like, oh gosh, guys, you really need to do that. But it was something to me to, like I say, to make fun of back in the day. And little thing, when I posted the first issue of Night Watch on Thursday, December 19, 2007, don't ask me how I remember, I just do. At the time on YouTube, there was no video series for Knight Rider. And I'm like, okay, we need to fix that. And only in the last like 5 or 6 years, I've noticed other people starting to do it. One compliment I received from a friend, I won't go name dropping because discretion. They said, out of all the Knight Rider podcast series I've seen on the internet, no one has your charisma. And I'm like, oh, okay, thank you. Wasn't expecting that, but we'll just let that be what it is. And it just floors me that Night Watch does turn 10 in about 2 months, which is like, gosh dang, I feel old. But, you know, I've always seen from the get-go when there's a little story. I may have told this story to you guys before because I knew of Knight Rider back in the day, but at 10 or 11, it just kind of flew over my head. I wasn't able to comprehend it. And X24 Rider, if you're listening, you'll know about the botched presentation they did in '97 on Channel 5, where the episodes were so edited. They were, because Knight Rider was usually recorded in a 45-minute format. Channel 5 managed to cut it down to 27 minutes. And I'm like, that had to be like really nasty edits because you'd probably miss certain key plot points and what have you.
2005 when the Daily Star were doing a retro weekend promotion. There was a freebie DVD. The Knight Rider episode was Trust Doesn't Rust, which was KITT versus Car, which was also the first ever voiceover appearance that I'm aware of Peter Cullen, who would then go on to be, and then by extension, Voltron. I felt he actually did a decent job. And Kaiju, if you ever get around to watching an episode, you can hear Prime's mannerisms in there, but Car just comes across as a little bit obnoxiously logical. I mean, there's this one line where it goes, "Understand some of your basic needs. You wish to eat. You wish to reproduce," and you get like one of the other characters like, "Yeah, which one first?" And one of the guys go, "How about some sunny side eggs, sunny side up?" And he just simply says the line, "I have no eggs. Perhaps you can direct me to a chicken." Okay, that's sharp. Which, as you heard in the clip I showed 2 weeks ago, he did come back to voice Car, but lines as "KITT must die." You think, what? Ugh. And of course, as you pointed out, the TV CG budget was not doing itself any favors for that show.
Mm-hmm.
And for all this time, I've neglected Win. My apologies, dear.
Hey, all good, all good. I didn't want to interrupt because I kind of noticed every now and then I would have lag spikes and unintentionally speak over people, which I apologize for.
That's usually A-Log's job. Love you, dude.
Yeah.
But what are your
He's gonna
thoughts?
be so pissed off when he's on here.
What are your thoughts about Paul? Has it aged well? Does it still hold up? What are your recollections
From the
of
little
it?
I got to see on Netflix, because I would get curious and I would watch it on and off growing up. I can't really remember the episodes by heart. I just remember David Hasselhoff being really good in it and wanting a Trans Am like KITT as my first car. And I have to say, the quality I've seen on when it was on Netflix, as I said, not sure if it still is, it still looks like it aged fairly well. But that's just my silly little opinion.
Alrighty.